Yeah, we are rolling. We are rolling. Good morning, Diana. Good morning, Belen. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Great.
Very well. Yourself?
Yes, I'm doing very well. I'm quite excited to have this chat with you, girls. I can't wait. This topic about localization is super interesting to me. We had Miko I Marches from Uncanny already, so you're the next, and then the third episode will be with Raisa Kulberg, and actually I already recorded it also with her, but I want you to be the second one. So and I'm gonna ask you to do a little bit of an introduction of yourself. Take a minute, say whatever you want.
Thank you. So I'm Diana. I am from Madrid, Spain. Born and raised in here. Lived here most of my life, except for a small hiccup where I spent around 3 years in Vancouver. I'm passionate about languages, people, different countries. I love the Nordics. I also studied, for instance, Swedish, and I spent several summers in Sweden because, I fell in love with that. So yeah, I'm not like the typical Spanish person. I love the cold and so on. Come on, I'm team cold. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Yeah, for Spanish, it's kind of odd, but well. I've got 2 kids. I love science fiction. I'm a big movies fan, especially science fiction. And of course, I love languages. I've been a translator for, I don't know, it's scary to say, but like 25 years or something like that. And since very early in my career, I got in touch with video games. I fell in love with it because it combines my passion for tech. I was an early adopter of the internet. So it combines this part, about software and creativity. It's kind of like movies, So yeah, this is who I am. I'm very, very passionate about my job. And yeah, even after so long, I still love it, which is weird. But yeah, here I am.
How long is long?
I don't know. Never too long.
Okay. I take it as a little bit like... Back off, Pietro.
No, but I said like it's been. I think it's been 25 years already. Yeah,
Okay,
so
okay.
It's a long time, I think.
Okay, so let's move to Belen.
Yes, of course. Well, thank you, Pietro, for inviting us. This is so much fun. And well, I'm lucky enough that I have met Diana for many years as well. Actually, when I started almost 15 years ago in localization, I started in gaming, and Diana was already like a referent in Spain because, game localization was not as mainstream as it is now, as it was like 10, 20 years ago. So yeah, I always appreciated her leadership in the industry in Spain. So I'm happy to be here with her in this podcast. And yes, again, I live in Santa Pola, which is known as the beach of Madrid. So probably Diana knows my town, which is by the sea, Mediterranean, soul Mediterranean, fully Mediterranean person. I love the sea. I love Mediterranean food. I love warm weather. Sorry, Diana. I mean, I love fall as a concept, but I don't like cold as a feeling. So, I live here. I have a dog named Seppi. She might be somewhere in the background at some point. I live with my partner. I have a stepson. I also worked in academia for some time, apart from being in the game localization in the professional world for a long time. I also did my time in academia. I love teaching. This is one of the things that I loved the most when I was starting in this industry, was to be able to share the little things that I knew about game localization with students, because everyone in Spain was so passionate about this topic. And that is something that I still, I feel I try to do in my professional life, to share the knowledge, to be able, to learn. And I think education and knowledge is a gift that we should not take for granted. And being in the industry for so long, I feel like we need to give back to the community, to share our learnings and so on and so forth. That's something I feel really passionate about. And regarding, tastes, I love the Lord of the Rings, like the movies. That's a little bit about me.
Wow, that's really nicely said. I liked it very much. Thank you for sharing that. Like I am on team war as well. I just, as a good Italian, I just like that. Thank you anyway, once again for that. Let's kick in and let's talk about localization and the impact that AI is having or will have on it. So, as you know, I already had this conversation with Nico. Of course, he's a founder of Uncanny. There are companies, there are multiple companies now that they do that. So they are, I don't know if they're specializing. Uncanny specializing on gaming, others also, and they have like very, very strong claims on what machines can do, and that's why I would like to touch upon this topic, because it seems to me that there are very bold statements, and I would like to understand how those statements that can be backed off, backed up, if they have data or not. So I tried to talk to him. I think you saw it, and I would like to get to know what is your impression. But let's first start a little bit of maybe your what you do. So you both are working for service providers dedicated to localizations, right? So we have Native Primes. Diana, you work for Native Prime. You're a founder of Native Prime, and you are solely doing localization, translation, localization, audio translation as well, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
And for you, Belen, you also work for Terra translations, and what you also do mostly localization for video games.
Well, my company does localization, but also LQA and other adjacent services that we can discuss. So it goes beyond only the localization part, but also LQA and others.
Roger that. It's perfect. Thank you for the clarification. Could you share with us, if you can, of course, what kind of AI tools are currently integrated into your workflows? Are there any? It's because that's one of the things that I heard is localization companies are already doing that, already using it, but they just don't tell you. So do you do anything like that?
I can start if you want, Diana. So how we see it at Terra is that we have partnerships with our customers, right? So we talk to them, we want to understand what their needs are, and then we create a curated solution for them. That curated solution might include AI because they have, budget restrictions, or they have, they need a very, very tight time to market, because sometimes it's not just about the cost, but it's also about, I need translations in 2 hours. So, you cannot do that in a fully human workflow. So we decide that together. We explain what you have in the different workflows. It's not the same to have a workflow with 3 steps, human workflow, which is translation, editing, and proofreading. You have certain level of quality, certain nuances, and so on and so forth, that have a 1-step MTP workflow. You will get a different deliverable. And who says it's the same thing? I'm sorry, but it's just not true. It's not the same thing. I think what we need to do as service providers is to understand the needs of our customers, come up with solutions together, understand the quality expectations, understand the quality expectations of the end users, because maybe, someone in a gaming company might say, well, good enough is good enough for me. Just do it machine translation, as Mikolai was saying, but maybe then the end users are not happy with that. So companies should know these things before. They should have market research. They should understand their players and end users, and then see which solutions and co-create those solutions with the language service providers. I think, it's very important to be transparent and to show expertise. I don't trust people who say, I can do everything and everything will be fine. That, to me, is a very, very big red flag. So, yes, we use technology in partnership with our customers, and that technology can be neural machine translation, it can be LLMs, it can be automatic speech recognitions to generate captions, it can even be synthetic voices for certain use cases as well. So we are experts in all the language technology. As service providers, we must be experts because we are, the ones who are leveraging this technology. But we definitely don't, do things without our customers' consent, especially in this day and age with cybersecurity and security concerns. You cannot just use Google MT or DeepL and then hope for the best. You need to do that in agreement with your customers.
Diana?
Yeah, we have a similar approach to what Belen said. I think the goal here is, as she mentioned, to partner with your clients, to understand what are their needs, to also partner with our translators, our collaborators, to also understand their needs and their concerns when using these kind of tools. The reality is that, we do a great deal of our job is consultancy. So to understand this and to explain what are the different workflows, what kind of quality can you get? At the end of the day, at Native Prime, at least, we're using very little the technology, mostly because our clients don't want to use it. And of course, this goes again very much against what Nikolai was claiming, that LSPs are using machine translation without telling their clients. That's not the way we're doing it. We always listen to what they want and what they need. This is not our first offer unless, very specific cases like what Belen said, when you have very, very tight deadlines, this is something that we might consider offering, but very, hand-picked cases. There have been some projects on which our clients have specifically requested that we use machine translation. And in those cases, of course, this is an agreement with them. In those cases, we're mostly using our customers' machines already. So we adapt to their workflows and we adapt to their tools. We're also participating now in a research together with a doctoral researcher. She's working with the University of Finland and the University of Cologne. And we keep on testing different approaches. We like to measure what is the impact of machine translation, post-editing on our linguists as well, in terms of workflow and how it affects not just their productivity, but their approach to the actual work, how well they perceive it, how comfortable they are with using it and with the outcome. Because what we want is to be a tool that supports everyone, not a tool that is only cutting costs and putting a lot of stress and effort on the linguist side. So that's basically our approach, but always, in collaboration and in 100% transparency with our clients.
100% transparency.
Yeah.
Yes. So if I have my new game today, and I give it to you, I'm talking just about a video game, proper video game, give it to you today, you have your human translators doing the localization.
That's right. That's right.
Correct. You don't use, of course. Well, it's what someone could argue. Someone could argue that, of course, you have to answer this question, and I'm going to make in the way you're going to answer, because I'm going to ask. So, how are you going to use AI translation in any way, like behind my back?
But I want to play devil's advocate here, not saying that this is what we do at Terra, but imagine that, yes, LSPs leverage all this language technology because we are experts and we have access to it. And we deliver you something, it's not just one step MTP, but we use machine translation in the workflow because, it might increase productivity, whatever, but then we have an editor, a proofreader, and we use it just as a tool. But the deliverable will be the same because the workflow is designed in a way that will give you the same as human quality, because it's not just one step and, very light changes, but it's more of a comprehensive workflow. What is the matter with that? Like, if we decide as LSPs, why now? And I understand why, because now language technology, because of ChatGPT and generative AI, now it has had so much exposure in the media. Executives or companies know now that ChatGPT exists and it can do this language-related stuff, right? And now it's like, no, but you're using it and you're leveraging it, and now you're charging us the same. Well, if I'm charging you the same, it's because the level of effort is the same. I might be experimenting. I might be seeing if I can leverage this technology. I might offer it as an option to my linguist to see if they can work better, if they can, be more creative thanks to the support of the technology, but I'm giving you the same deliverable. That's one thing I want to say as well. And then another thing that happens is that, okay, some companies might say, I want you to localize my game, but this is my rate and it's very low. So in that case, we should maybe talk to them and say, you know what, your rate is a little bit low for the market standards, for what is needed for a full premium, fully human translation workflow. Maybe we could use technology so that you can have a good translation, maybe not the perfect, the most immersive, the most amazing translation, but we can give you something that, you know, adjusts to your budget. That's what I think we need to do. And it's what also Diana was saying about being a consultant, because people need to know what they are getting for the price that they are getting. And for example, what Mikolai was saying he was saying that for 1 cent, we give you exactly the same as fully human. Sorry, but that is not true. That is just not true.
How is that quantifiable? So how we can, because obviously here we are in front of, so it shouldn't be a bias, how can I call it, confrontation where 1 is equal to 1. Like the good time of COVID, when, you had the doctor studying for 30 years on medicines and saying, this is the best approach that we have, put the mask, because if you put the mask, it's 10% saving your life. Like the other one put them together, they do 70%. And then the other guy, any John Doe on a TV, on TV, they're put in front of each other, but it's not 50-50. It's not the representation of data, of fact, of truth is not 50-50. It's not because there is 1 and 1. So here, my fear is we're almost transforming this, and is my opinion, your opinion, right? It must be data. This is localization. It has a core, has a heart of mathematics in it. There has to be KPI. There has to be something that because when I asked Miko, why, so how do you quantify it? Like, didn't get like it's like, oh, not negative answer, not negative reviews. Like that didn't seem very strong. So what I'm looking for here is that you tell me, how is your opinion? And I trust, and actually I know it because that I'm more, localization, what it means for me, what gaming, so games and localization is very important. So I actually more into I don't think it's the same thing, that the time and creativity, intelligence, studies. I have studies for years as a translator. I become a translator. I'm a gamer. I condense all that in boom, in the result that you have from fantastic games that you see that they're really immersive. Now, how's that quantifiable? How can we say, no, look, you say that, but it's not like that because of 1, 2, 3?
Well, I will say that translation is, well, I think we all agree that translation is not just 1-to-1 equivalent. I think we're past this, discussion, let's say. Then what is quality in localization? That's something very subjective and something very difficult to measure. It's difficult also to measure the impact of localization, because it's hard to find a scenario where you put a game out there without being localized, and then afterwards you localize it and then you compare, because of course it's not happening at the same time. So it's really difficult to conduct this kind of research. Now, quality, it is perceived in different way by different people, and what we can tell is that there are very heated discussions out there among players, and whenever they are asked whether they prefer to play a game in their language or in a foreign language, they prefer it in their own language. But now, do they prefer it in their own language, period? No matter what the quality is, even if it has typos, even if it's not 100% perfect, because you can understand the game? I don't think that's the case, because again, there are very heated conversations around small nuances, terminology issues, if this is the correct thing or not, if it's conveying it or not. And when things go well, when you get an immersive product, when you identify yourself with the characters on the screen because they say the words that you say, or that you expect them to say when there's like a fantasy world or something like that, then these people will praise it. They will show the examples, share them, commend them, and that's how you can measure it. It is true that it's difficult to to put it in like an Excel sheet and say this is good and this is bad, because even when you're doing a translation test, depending on who is proofreading it and what are they expecting, what can be good for you might be wrong for the other one. But for sure, when we are not, again, translating one by one every word, and what we get from our customers is that they want emotions to be conveyed, intentions, an experience, not just the game to be understood. And that is the tricky part.
Yes, and I totally agree with Diana. I had myself had heated conversations about how to prove the value of localization. But I talked a lot about this with Miguel Sepúlveda from King. He's great. I think you should interview him.
Miguel.
For yes, if you haven't, you should definitely interview him for this. But
I should.
Yeah, he has so many great ideas, and also his blog, yolocalizo.com, which
Miguel,
I recommend everyone.
Like a message to Miguel. If you're here, if you're listening to this one, you are invited. Maybe from a triptych of episodes, it can become also like a quartetto, like a series.
Yes, that would be. Yeah.
Well, you're right. You're right. I know. Miguel should have been here. Okay, Miguel, you're gonna get your special episode just for you.
Yes, I think.
And by the way, sorry to stop you. Like, since we're here, since if you got till here, we're 20 minutes in this conversation. I think, in general, someone told me that I say it always at the end of the episode, so it's too late to say it. Most people, they stop before that. So please put a like, a comment, whatever you want. It would be
subscribe. Subscribe.
Subscribe or just a comment like, I hate you guys. It's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. Many people hate me, so please join the club. Okay, sorry, Belen, let's go on. So you were talking to Miguel?
About Miguel, because we had many discussions about the ROI of localization, right? And it's like, why do we need to isolate localization? Like, why don't we isolate developers? Like, let's make them like tell us, why do we need to pay developers to develop this, like, whatever thing in the game? Why do we put ourselves into that position? It's not, I don't think it's a good approach to quantify the ROI of localization, but it's part of the user experience. It's part of the global launch of this, of the game. And so it needs to be considered as such. It's not an afterthought. And also it shows when you look at very mature gaming companies. They have very strong localization programs. They invest in localization. Actually, if you look at again mature gaming companies, they are adding more and more languages into their offering, and they are using human, maybe AI enabled, whatever, but they are providing good quality translations. So it's not a discussion. It's something that can enable opening new markets for game developers. Another thing is what Mikolaj was saying about, there are indie games or indie developers, they don't have the budget. We totally understand. I used to work with an indie company from Denmark. And yes, at the beginning, they didn't have budget, but their game was very rooted. It was written in English, but it was very rooted in Spanish culture. And they thought, well, we will find money to at least localize it into Spanish, because we believe that market will appreciate the game. So maybe you don't start with like, let's localize into 100 languages, as Mikolaj was saying, but you can identify what are your top 3 markets, start with those and see how it goes. You could also start with, good enough translations, maybe empty translations with some light post editing for certain markets, see how people react in those markets. And then if you have a good fan base, maybe you invest in premium, because that's also a way to show your gamer base that you respect them, that you respect their culture, because not everyone speaks English or whatever language is the original. And it shows. And actually, talking about examples of when players might see when a localization is not good, the CEO of Terra, Marina Hilari, she's a passionate gamer, and she shared this piece of news with me. It's from October this year. So the title, it's on PC Gamer. The title of this article is none of this makes any sense. Amazon's latest MMO import is a localization disaster. And basically is this, and this is written by a journalist, it's not written by a translator, okay? So someone who actually cares about the experience and is a gamer.
Something non-biased.
Exactly. He's not, and he's American, I think, so native speaker of English. So there is this game called Throne and Liberty, created by NCSoft. It is in original language is Korean, and probably Amazon, because they are a tech-driven company. I don't know exactly what was the case, but they probably used technology, AI. Maybe they machine translated it. Maybe they used AI voices, as they have been doing in other contexts as well. And, people notice these things. They are not dumb. They know when a machine is doing a translation, especially in an MMO, a game full of emotions, as Diana was saying, like people will notice that. And I have another example that was posted by my colleague Lara Lapierre from Terra as well. And she's playing an indie game called Liar's Bar, about lying. I don't know, a game about lying. That sounds funny. But, and she said that it's such a great game, but in the comments on the platform, on Steam, players were saying that the voices were not good because they were AI voices. So it was disrupting the experience. So I think we need to go to the end user and see what's good enough for them, because machine translation might be good enough if I go to a website and I have no idea what it says and I want to get the gist of it. And that's a great use case for machine translation, raw machine translation, or even machine translation with an improvement with LLMs. I don't mind. But when you're talking about experiences, immersive experiences, it's not just so easy as saying you just do it with a machine and that's it. There's so much nuance, and there are so many different cultures in the world and languages that the machine is not good at. So really, we need to think about it.
On every project that we work, once it is released, of course, we go chase the reviews, to see what people think. And like I said at the beginning, I've been in this industry for a long time, and of course, localization started low and it has matured over the years. And I've noticed many changes. Like Belen was saying, there's more and more mentioning of localization in all the media. And if you go to socials like X or Blue Sky or whatever, you will see that players are commenting about good decisions and bad decisions. So they really care. They show that they care. When something goes wrong, everyone goes, and starts saying that. But also when things are well, when they feel like a lot of care has been put into it. For instance, a couple of years ago, we worked on the localization of Hi-Fi Rush. It was a huge success, also because of the way the game was released. It has not been announced, and at one of the Microsoft Directs, they announced the game, and it was released at the same time, so it was a big hype. But one of the things we noticed is that the producer, John Johannes, one of the creators, he posted in Twitter that, or X, sorry, I still call it Twitter, can change it to X, that he liked the localization, and there was like a lot of people commenting and saying, yeah, it's great, I'm going to play the game in Brazilian Portuguese, or I'm going to play in Korean, because they are not used, especially in some countries, to having all the games localized into their language. So they really praise it and they really appreciate it. And you also often read that players start playing in their language, and if they don't like it, or they find that there are mistakes or things that are disruptive, as Belen was saying, they say, okay, I'd rather switch to English. So it's good enough is not good enough for everyone, even if they can understand the mechanics, as Nikolai was saying. I don't think the goal of localization is to make a game understood, really. Yeah.
That's a good one. That's something to reflect upon. So the goal of localization is not to have a game understood.
Yeah, because I think a game is, we talk about video games like art. It's like a book or a movie. Video games, I don't think when someone creates a video game that their ultimate goal is that people know how to play it and that's it. There are, of course, many different kind of games, and the mechanics of the games are important. But most developers, when you ask them, they are selling you an experience. They want you to enjoy it. They want you to feel happiness, fear, all these sort of emotions. They put so much care into that. So why are you going to destroy, the whole game by killing that part of the emotion? Because language is a carrier of all these emotions, So getting rid of it, it's really hard. And what I find very hard is that we have tons of conversations with the developers deciding on the right term, and this is something that we do in communication with them. They say, no, don't localize this name, or what is the meaning of this name when you localize into your language? Oh, okay, I like it. There's all this decision process, and that's something that the machine will not be able to do. So if they put so much care, I can't believe that all of a sudden all these developers, they don't care about this anymore, because this is what I'm getting from them. This is what I'm perceiving. They want good, proper localization, not just some words out there and that's it.
Yeah, and at the same time, sorry to interject a little bit, I totally agree with what Diana's saying. And also, it's interesting to me to see how game localization industry, which has been always very advanced in adopting technology with CAD tools, TMS, and all that, now is pushing back on AI. Not everyone, of course, and some companies are early adopters of NMT and so on and so forth, but it's not as in other like software localization where everyone is, yes, let's do everything automated. It's really because, as you said, Diana, it's an art. It's an immersive experience. So I really like what you were saying. But one thing I want to say is that, you can be strategic about the usage of technology. So it doesn't need to be yes or no. It doesn't need to be black or white. Like technology can be used and can coexist with human workflows, and you can do content tiering strategies. So that is something that we see a lot with our customers. Well, maybe you don't use machine translation or LLMs for the in-game, but you use it for support, you use it for patch notes, you use it for website, you use it for certain things. You can also, for example, use technology for enabling more accessibility, to create live captions for esports, for example, or to include more audio description if you use synthetic voices, and so on and so forth. So there are good use cases, and content tiering, use case tiering, and also language tiering. Maybe some languages you don't have enough budget. So yesterday I was at a SlatorCon remote, and it was not a gaming company, it was a software company, but they had this premium versus non-premium languages, and they were using machine translation for non-premium and fully human, fully premium services for the premium one. But that shows that, you care more about certain territories than others. And maybe over time, you need to promote some of the non-premium to the premium, and just be strategic about it. It doesn't need to be black or white. And also, why do you want to have 100 languages if you don't have a marketing strategy to go to those markets? Why do you want to have the translation if you don't have like a more holistic approach to your launch of your game? I think localization, again, what I was saying, it's not an isolated thing that happens at the end of the production. It's a more global strategy that, where we can leverage technology, we can leverage creativity, and we can have a very great solution for customers as LSPs.
That's another strong point that, I feel a little bit silly that I haven't thought about it, but it's correct, right? I mean, you can translate it into Filipinos or into Marathi, as I was discussing with Miko. But if people in that language don't actually know, well, maybe Marathi is it's the Indian languages, because there are lots of Indians across the globe, and also they tend to play like. But you're right, there are so many languages that if you don't do a marketing work beforehand, then you will not. Those people will not know that your game exists.
Can they even afford the game in those territories if you don't localize your pricing strategy? Can someone in India pay $60 for your indie game? Well, maybe not. So why do you want to even have it localized? It goes beyond the word-by-word translation.
Right. And support for the players. Some games, they need some player support in their language as well. So are you ready to take on that as well? Because machine translation can also be used for that, but there might be instances where if you're dealing with the discussions with the player, you need a human interaction at some point.
I guess that needs to be left behind, period. I mean, your goal I wanted to try from the very beginning, but I'm failing miserably to be a little bit of a devil's advocate, try to, do the non-comfortable questions. But in this case, I think that the idea is, listen, I translate it in that language. I toss it out there. If it costs me two kebabs, well, I'm sure that it was not maybe like a huge one, but like if it costs you kebab, you can just spend that amount of money to just get it translated, and the quality is what it is. And if I get if I sell even 100 copies, it probably paid off for what I spent, and then who cares about what.
But do you know, if you haven't localized the game and just have it in English, if you have sold those copies as well? That's where, the strategy needs to be thought a little bit more than just adding languages for the sake of it, and especially languages that are poorly localized. It goes beyond that. I think it's...
Why would it be poorly localized?
With MT, for example, or LLMs or things like that, okay. I'm not saying, and I'm not silly, I'm an AI strategist, I'm a technologist, but because of that and because of my translation roots, I understand the limitations. And my mission in life is to tell everyone what the limitations of this technology is, so that they can really understand what they are getting. So I know the technology is evolving, but at the same time, now there is the big hype also because there's a lot of money from investment flowing into tech companies. So people are going to say whatever they are going to say. So just let me tell you a couple of examples of other tech companies apart from Uncanny. Sorry.
Yes,
and I love tech companies. I love what they do. I love that they are pushing boundaries and making us think about what we do. For example, there is one company called Unbabel. They released their LLM translation product within. You can try it. And the CEO of Unbabel, he said in the news that in 3 years we won't need human translators. Okay. Then we have Translated, also released an LLM for translation, super advanced, super cool technology called Lara. And okay, they haven't said that we won't need translators in 3 years, but they shared this data where they say that every 1,000 words of internet content, like chats, forums, and so on and so forth, neural machine translation only has 11 mistakes for every 1,000 words of internet content. An average translator would make 4 mistakes. A great translator would make 1 mistake. And their current LLM would make, it's between the average and the very good translators. I don't know where is that data coming from, guys? Where are those statements coming from? You are scientists and you know the value of data and the value of having a good methodology to analyze these things. So please, we need to be more empathetic, because you're also saying that thousands of people will be out of job in 3 years. So we owe our industry, the people working in our industry, a better approach to this change and this transition. That's something I really wanted to say, because it's just we need to be more careful with our words. Words matter, and what we say what we put out there will also influence how localization buyers react to this and the value of our industry as a whole. And honestly, I don't think we won't need human translators in 3 years. But what are you going to do when everyone quit the industry because you're telling them that they will be out of job, and then you need them to possess the output, and you have no one, and no one wants to work for you? It's going to be a very big problem. So it's very short time thinking that I don't like.
We need to be more holistic. We're going to lose a lot of talent, because of course you can say, okay, I recruit new people, but what about all the talent that got lost, that we have learned over all these years, because we have learned localization the hard way.
There is,
and
there is the same. There. This is the same that Raisa also was saying yesterday. You will see in the 3rd episode, if you're saying I'm afraid we're going to lose a lot of talent. I'm afraid people are going to run away. And when you say recruiting new talent, well, for the same reason people are running away, the new talent will not probably come here. right? So if
they're not going to be ready. Yeah, they're not going to be ready. Because,
to be 100% frank, right? If I have an 18 years old kid, and I almost do, I will not tell him to go into translation right away, right? In this very moment, because by the time that he's like in 10 years. Of course, in 10 years, we all know it. And if it's not 3, it's 5, it's not 3. No, absolutely. But like at some point, it's going to get there. That is going to be like, so getting into transitional. So, but it's always going to be the need for the editors. There is always going to be the need for LQA, right? And that is also a thing for me. So, here goes back, wow, because I tried to make you talk, and even though I wanted to just jump in a few times, but there are so many things that Belen said that make a lot of sense, and also all that together goes into first statement: capitalistic, consumeristic world, no one cares about people losing their jobs. So that things we need to be careful. Of course, I think we need to be careful with other things, making false claims,
right?
Saying that you guys are basically a fraud, that you're frauding your clients. That is a statement that I would be very careful in making, right? I don't, Miko, I didn't make it, said that clients are making this statement. Well, there is misinformation. Maybe they don't understand what localization means. Maybe they don't understand what the KPIs are. Maybe they don't understand what it means localizing a goddamn game in certain languages. Not all the LLMs are capable of translating. Okay, I'm getting a tone my voice high. So like not all of the languages can be translated at a high quality, like Italian, German, the main ones, of course, Figs plus all the main ones. Yes, but when you're translating in Marathi, I'm not sure an LLM does an equal job as it's translated into German. You tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that that's the case. Point number 2, what do you really consider as acceptable? Even acceptable, they need data. Like what's acceptable? Right. What is really acceptable? Is like anything? It's just out there and doesn't say sun instead of saying moon. Yeah, sure. Okay. That is also needs to be said. 3, I think needs to be said also price-wise, which is a big thing. Pricing is a big thing. It's probably the strongest argument, right? And of course it's there. And of course it's just like, it's a fraction of what costs current localization. But not to give the same thing, absolutely not. Or to give the same thing, the cost then come out as very, very similar. If I translate it for 0.01, so for 1 cent per word instead of 14 cents per word, staying low, 14 cents, it's a fraction. But then you need the editing, so way more editing at that point, right? So way more editing. If I have TEPs called, right? Translation, editing, and proofreading. This is the service that you guys offer, that I was working on a company that were offering that service. But the moment the translation is done by a human, editing and proofreading, it takes shorter time. It's shorter. But if I have a machine doing the translation, then I need a lot more editing, a lot more proofreading. And then I need a lot more LQA. And LQA is way more expensive than localizing. Yes. Correct me when I'm wrong.
Yeah. Right? And I would also like to say that if, like Belen was saying, not all the languages are at the same level when it comes to machine translation. Going back to this example, with like lesser known languages, if we go into just machine translation with them, I think they will fail miserably at different points. Some parts might be okay, others might be or not so okay, but others, I think there will be great mistakes. Who is going to do this post-editing and this proofreading in languages where maybe there is not even localization, a localization base already, because when I started in localization over 20 years ago, it was really hard to find Brazilian Portuguese translators that were specialized in video games. I'm not saying there were not translators out there, because translation is a very old job, but specialized in video games, it was really, really hard. And now you can find them. you couldn't find someone who translated from Japanese directly into German or into Italian or into Spanish or from Korean. Now, a lot of more people have, they have access to languages. They have changed. The landscape of the language industry has changed. But there are many other, languages in which it's virtually impossible to find a translator or a proofreader. So then for those languages, again, they are alone in the dark. They only can rely on machine translation. So there is this huge risk of just leaving everything in the hands of the machine, especially because in some languages the quality is not there yet. Also because they're not investing in that technology. I mean, we know languages and grammar structure, things are very different from language to language. So you have to train the machine for all the different languages as well. And you have to invest in a language. Why, I don't know, English into Spanish is probably better than English into, an obscure language in Africa, because there's no interest in probably developing that either.
Yeah, and that's a problem. And one more problem that is more of an ethical, philosophical, humanistic problem is that shouldn't we also protecting languages in a way? Do we just want to share very poor language translations, words out there for people to become more impoverished culturally? That's also something that I've been thinking about a lot. And yes, capitalism is capitalism. As Pietro said, we don't most people won't care if people lose their jobs, but also as long as people are buying products, if they are poorly localized, they won't care. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think there will always be tiers of content, and I'm living it today. So if I go to Amazon to buy this random thing and it's probably machine translated, I don't understand half of what it says, but I just go to the reviews, make sure that it works and that a human validated that this product is what I want, and off you go. I don't want a super literary great translation for that. But in a movie, in a video game, in a book, I would like to be created. Anything that is art, that is subjective, that it's human. I would rather have a human taking care of that. And even if, so at some point, yes, will technology be at parity with human? That's what some technology companies say. Maybe yes, as you were saying, Pietro. And I think this is one of the questions that we were going to discuss, what happens in 5-10 years when technology is at parity. Well, first of all, I first want to see that, because there are AI gurus saying that, the current Gen AI technology has reached its peak. And, at the end of the day, is the same technology that has existed since 2016 or 17 with Google invented transformer models, and now it's just much more data, but now there is a lot of data and the machine is still not perfect. So how are we going to fix it? Putting in even more data, or do we need a new technology that hasn't invented yet? And probably this technology will be invented, but we will see. We've seen AI winters in the past. This is something that a very good academic and researcher said in Translating Europe Forum a couple of weeks ago from a university, that he's seen AI winters in the past, and he thought, well, we might experience another AI winter. We are not sure. So I would be a little bit more commonsensical and analyzing things a little bit more slowly, even if, we are in a run world where we all need to compete and signal innovation, especially language service providers. We need to say that we're at the forefront, and we are. But we also need to, be very cautious, and especially for our customers, because if we promise something and then we don't deliver, it's going to be a problem. And I think we need to work together in this industry, LSPs, game companies, translators, everyone to leverage everything that we can leverage, but not putting brands and experiences and all the effort and passion that goes into these products at risk.
At risk. That's where that's a good way to finish like that, because it's that's also let's also consider the risks, right? So I get my game translated in those 60, 70, 100 languages. Now by expanding your audience, expanding your audience without marketing and without a good localization, you also expand the possibility of getting bad reviews. Exactly. Bad reviews, they also are, it's a bad review on the name of a company, not on the company that localized it, but the company X. So think about Ubisoft, just to say like a big name, their next Assassin's Creed, the next Far Cry, the next Rainbow Six. I do not see them thinking, let me get it localized 100, with this approach, and then, with an LLM, and then, or the machine, and then editing, proofreading, and then LQA, increase LQA. Costs are going to be similar, even if they're cheaper. The possibilities of risking your name as Absolutely. A big name as usable. So you're going to translate it into, let's keep into the Marathi. I like the Marathi language. It's my best friend, Sunil. He speaks this language. He tells me like this. So I knew a few things about that, but it's an incredible good example, in my opinion. Marathi is a language that is spoken by millions of people, like 100 million people, something like that. It's huge, and but then you open to 100 million. Of course, it's not 100 million people that speak Marathi that actually can buy a 60 euros game, right? So that's not really possible. But still, let's say that you have access to 15 million people, right? It's a small country in Europe. There are countries in Europe that are 15. Finland is 5. So of course it's like 15 million people that then will look at it, will play it, and say, goddamn Ubisoft, or goddamn EA, or goddamn whatever, right? Blizzard. They will not do it. So the risk is also there, of course. So kind of like circling back to what Belen was saying before, Belen, the way it also, it's all a matter of who does it. So if you're trying to open for indie developers, biggest support. I don't have the money. They don't have the money. I've been working as a salesperson for companies, like PTW, Testronic, Global7, et cetera. And one of the biggest things sometimes, how much would it cost? I'm sending out the proposal. And it was like, wow, what? I thought it would cost like a quarter of that. It's like, yeah, no, sorry. If you want to translate in French and Spanish or German is so expensive nowadays, right? Yeah. German became so expensive in the last 7 years. And then of course, when I translate it in German, it's expensive. So, rooting a lot for that, for all the indie developers or the X company that had made a very good translation in those like 6, 8, or 12 main languages. And then I say, I haven't done Russian, for example, just saying like an example. I haven't done Russian. I have, depleted the crates full of gold, and now can you give me like one decent version, and then I will edit it, I don't know, and then I can understand it. But from that to everyone come in, we do the same, I think the risk is huge also if we say a bad name. And then one thing also that still I was about to finish, and also Belen, you jumped in and was like good, because it helped me finishing my even my chain of thought was regarding the end result, right? And also the end result and people leaving the industry. So people leaving the industry. So if we have it, even when the machine will get there, let's say we'll get there, I don't believe we'll be 100%. So if in from 1 to 100, 100 is the good translators. Not all translators are good. Also, to be said, some translators also, I'm sure that in the back, they're using also machine translation. That we can't check it. But the end result will be, if you did a shitty translation, probably you're not going to work anymore. So there is also that to be said, right? But if they're all leaving, even when it will be 99% there, we're still going to need those like 100 editors or call them localization project managers or localization managers that are going to check the final outcome, right? When we're not going to have those, even that 1% is going to be felt, I think, because there's going to be a standardization of text. I mean, I think, I said it, I re-say it now, and I will re-say 100 times. Look at what ChatGPT does. It does a great job. But look at LinkedIn. Look at LinkedIn. Everyone writes the same way.
Yeah.
Everyone writes. It's just, oh yeah, you can see who writes. I can, let me open LinkedIn right now. Let's do it right now, right? Okay, no, well.
Everyone is saying the same thing because it's,
But it's the same, when you see that there is like the emoji at the beginning, but it's okay, it's nice.
But first two times it's like, okay, this is cool, but then it's like, it's boring and it's void. I'm sorry. To me, it's all void.
You don't really know. Yes, soulless. It's like, and also, and you know what? It's just, you see, like, oh my God, and the fear is that for a video game love, I was stealing money from my grandma. I mean, to go play video games at the bar, right? Like at the bar in Italy when we were going on holiday. God knows how much money I stole from my grandma, but just I love them. So for me, it starts being a fear that then the next Assassin's Creed or the next League of Legends or the next whatever, The Last of Us, if they're gonna do like part 3, which I'm an adorer of that saga. Like if they're gonna do it, it's gonna be a standardized language, a standardized approach, and I don't want it. I want to play The Last of Us. I want to be The Last of Us, right? So it's important that we don't get there. So the false statement also that we're making, right? Or there's the bold statements, the words. You wanna, so the feeling I have, and then I'm gonna give it to you, and then you tell me what you think. I'm afraid that just by using those words, we're educating people that it's like that. We're spreading this, and people start thinking. You go to conferences, talk to 100 people, and say, come on, it's like that. It's now already like that. And I've seen this. I've seen it with my eyes. And my fear is that people start believing in it like that much. So,
but one thing that has happened as well in the last couple of years because of the hype of Gen AI and ChatGPT is that now developers, engineers have come to this conclusion that they can solve the language problem because of the technology, right? So when there was machine translation, it was fine, and like it's not perfect. People were making fun of Google MT, so it was not reliable. But ChatGPT revolutionized everything in a way, and because it can really fake how a human would speak, or a very I don't know, worthy human would speak. And so now the problem we have is that, developers think we can solve the language problem. We have this technology, we have LLMs, we have all these things, and we don't need localization anymore. But people saying these things, they are not language experts. They are scientists, very great scientists. Some of them might know languages very deeply, but they are not the right people to be making these statements and these calls, I think. So that's something that is putting us as well extra pressure in the localization industry, which we have been fighting to show the value of localization for years, and now this on top of it, right? So it's challenging, but the only way to fight this back is with data. Really, we cannot just say, as you were saying before, Pietro, it's my opinion against your opinion, because that's a sterile conversation that goes nowhere. We need data. We need to see, where the technology, because again, it's not black or white. It's not the technology is absolutely useless or it's absolutely fantastic. It can be used for certain things. So the value, I think, is finding where the technology can be leveraged in a good way, not putting brands at risk, and also how we can keep engaging talent that will be needed in the industry for many years, that might evolve in the roles that they do, but those inherently human skills, creativity, culture, the understanding of the world that surrounds us, that a machine cannot understand the world that surrounds us because it's a machine. Not yet. Maybe robots, when they have, olfactive and like sound and vision, maybe at some point the machine will really be able to be as human as a human, but we're still very, very far away from that. So we need to be cautious. We need to partner with scientists as well. So it doesn't need to be a fight between developers and scientists and humanistic people. We need to partner, we need to have conversations, and we need to have the difficult conversations as well. It's not just about this or that. It's about, okay, our industry is in a period of transition. How do we transition? How do we manage this change? And how we do it in a way that won't harm us people in the industry and end users and developers. I don't know, maybe that's a too dreamy or romantic view, but I still believe that humans can be decent and we can make the right choices.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing a lot of education in terms of what is localization, good practices and all that. And now we need to bring AI into the conversation, you know. What I think it's important is that we cannot lose all these developers, you know, and all this hard work we've been doing to convince that localization is good and how it's done. And now like throw it out of, you know, in the gutter because we think it can be 100 replaced by humans. Like Belen said, it's about integration. It's about understanding what are the different needs, where it can be used, where it cannot be used, and explaining what are the risks. And as you were saying, Pietro, there are many high risks, and this is the perception that we're getting from our customers. You know, whenever there is a bad review about localization, whether it's in the media or in social posts or in Steam reviews, they come to us and they want that fix, which again shows their care for localization. Mistakes are not okay.
You beat the machine.
Yeah. Now it's the problem. Now the audio is coming from here. I hope you don't hear it back. No. Okay, that's a good thing. So, the way it's already like 1 hour and 5 minutes, and this episode requires no editing because it's just like so fluid, so good. You know, one thing I would like to do, I would like to call it a game. I would like to let's try it. Let's just try it live. Let's just take a big game like The Last of Us. Let's stay on The Last of Us example. It's my favorite game ever. I'm actually replaying it now. Let's get it translated by an LLM, and let's see what comes out. I really would like to see like data. So this is the final result, and this is what we get. Because especially for big games, and my fear is that so whenever you use ChatGPT, and if you ask ChatGPT to translate something short, like a paragraph or something, it's really great. The work that yesterday I was reviewing a contract that was sent to me in Polish, and my Polish is good, but not as good as reading a contract and understanding. Also, I said, "Hey, tell me what is written here." The job it did, it was like fabulous, but small paragraph by paragraph, then it's good. The problem is that when there is a discourse, when there is a story, when there is like consistency that is needed, I'm also afraid that in time is gonna lose that, because it still makes mistakes even in calculating things, right? When you ask them to make a financial thing, okay, if I put 400,000 euros in a house and I get a mortgage, how long is gonna take me if I rent it out? And it makes mistakes, even in simple things like that, right? So by the way, that's a real case. Yesterday he told me, in 2.5 years you have repaid 400,000 euros. Like,
easy.
I was like, woo, I think you got something wrong there, man. I just think you're not calculating properly. I think it's going to take me 10 years. It's like, oh, Pietro, that you're very intelligent. Good, nice guy. It's like, yeah, well, so imagine a long thing where, you know, like there is this girl that meets this guy lost a partner, then they continue the trip alone. And then at some point also she grows up, like this whole thing. I don't think he's capable of doing it. And it's going to be a long time, because like that, how they call it when they just go crazy and starts inventing hallucinations, right? Yeah. This hallucination are going to be very, very real. They're going to be very real. So at some point it's going to start hallucinating over when it's more than like 50,000 words.
This is why, again, you need a human and a person that really is a specialist in the field to screen through these mistakes, you know. That's why, you know, what Belen was saying, we need to make sure that this talent is kept, because, yeah, we may need to recycle into other things, and this is going to be happening more and more, that we're doing post-editing, in checking the machine, but we have to train these people to know how to catch these things, and they need to have all this previous knowledge. You cannot just put anyone doing that,
Right.
like not all translators can be proofreaders or editors. These are different skills, so this is going to be yet another skill. But again, I think it's a skill that has to be developed and trained, and for that you need like this base. We cannot lose this base of the human translation. I think to be able to get there, you need to go through other steps before.
So wow, like we never really thought about that, but it's correct. Not all translators are editors. So it's not that anyone with a good and oh my god, I wanted to close it but I can't. There's also the one of the problem is that there is an understanding that not every that already kind of mixes up with the fact that so many people do not understand localization, do not understand translation, do not understand what it means to be a translator. So whenever I tell people, it happened to me in the past, it happens to you, Diana, it happens to you, Belen. I'm sure that you have a friend who's like, oh, how do I become a translator? And you say, or how do I become even an LQA tester? It's like, okay. And you say like, oh, but I'm Italian. No problem. We pass the test. Like, you sure? Because I can tell you that 30% of Italian pass the test to become an LQA tester. Yeah. For people that do not understand, LQA tester means like a person that plays a game and checks that everything is correct. The text is correct. Now, to pass that test is way easier than passing a translation test. And it's still only 30% of Italians that pass the test. And the same goes for Germans and French and Spanish. The same. So that multiplied times, not everyone is a translator, is also an editor, not every editor is a proofreader, not every proofreader actually knows how to proofread a machine job. And that is something I never even thought about. It's true. So we need actually to educate the translators or the proofreaders to actually do that for the typical mistakes that the machines do.
Mm-hmm. Because they are different from human. When I've been a proofreader for a long time as well. I started as a translator. I did a lot of proofreading. I still do because I enjoy it actually. And when you're proofreading a person, you know more or less where they fail. When you are proofreading a machine, it's a whole new story because mistakes are way more random. And it sounds fine, it sounds correct, but it's way off. The actual meaning. So you can easily be fooled, or you may disregard things that a human will never disregard. You know what I mean? So it's a different skill. I would even take it further. Not all translators can work in localization. Of course, you can train over time, but there are people. It's a very specific skill. It's a specialty at the end of the day. And for games, exactly, it's different than localization for software.
It's a niche in a niche in a niche.
Exactly.
Because I know, for example, I had good point. Because I had this French friend that she was a translator, like normal localization, which was about movies. And when she got she did the test, and one of the companies they were working before, she didn't pass the test twice in a row, and she didn't try it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when you have this base as a translator, of course, it's going to be easier, but it's a different skill, and not everyone gets it, or likes it.
But I just want to say I didn't have time to read this because it was posted yesterday on Slator, but it says the title of the article is Why LLM's Stylistic Fingerprints Could Mean More Work for Translation Post-Editors. And it's a study by Johns Hopkins University. So it's not by Manolito Gafotas. It's like John Hopkins University looking into this. I want to read this article, but I think we need to read it. But again, what Diana was saying is not, because machine translation is one thing, sometimes it's too literal and you can fix these things, but with LLMs, it sounds really good. Like the output might sound great, but because it's also adding that fluff and that style that doesn't sound normal, it doesn't sound human, even if it tries. It means that all these stylistic changes, translators need to put much effort, and we need to look into it, because if we are saying that these tools augment and make things better, but then we are seeing that the level of effort is increasing, there is not enough data yet. So this is what we need to keep looking into. Where is the data? Where does this actually provide benefits and when, you know, it's not a good fit, and when it's better to do it from scratch or to still use machine translation, or and so on and so forth. So really, and there was one last question that was in the ones that we discussed before the podcast, Pietro, which was like, which would be one message that we would like to share with game developers about the future of AI localization. Yeah. No, maybe we can get there to kind of wrap up. And I just would like to say that please partner with the right companies, the right experts, hire people in-house who are experts, really understand where you can leverage AI in localization, because you can, and there are great use cases. You can optimize your workflows, you can optimize your costs, your time to market. There are many ways you can apply AI in great ways, but please partner with the right people, understand what you're getting, understand the nuances, be curious about languages, about cultures, because you are creating a piece of art that you want to reach a global audience. And that the part of the experience of your game is language as well. Language is very important. So please put an extra effort into caring for other languages beyond the original, and understand what you're delivering to your players globally. So that would be just partner with the right people.
Absolutely. Very little much to say. I will say that integration and partnering are two of the key takeaways from what Belen said. I will say, just like they wouldn't leave everything else in their game to AI, music, narrative, design, they should not leave everything in AI, for the localization part.
That's beautiful. What do you say, especially about choosing the right partner? Well, that's it resonates with me. With Magic Partner, that's what I do. I try to tell game developers, it's not about finding someone, it's not about finding the cheapest, it's not about finding. You need to find someone that is right for you, for your needs, and of course price wise. And that's where I help you, right? Finding negotiating and etc. But one of the things that is not often understood is that QA is QA, QA is QA, localization is localization. Not really. No, it's not like that. It's not like that. There are companies, and now there are the TIGA or TIGA awards currently going on, and I already thinking that QA and loc you can put in the same bucket, best QA and loc provider. I think it should be split. QA and localization, for example. It's just too broad to call it like that. But the important thing is always finding the right person, the right company, the right partner for you, for the type of game that you have, for the length of text that you have when it comes to localization, for the type of modes that there are in the game. If you're looking only about functional QA, and the same goes but here staying on localization. It's important that you really understand who you're dealing with, what is the specialties, what are the USPs, what are they good at. Not everyone is good at everything, so I think you need to find the right thing. And the last provocation is if there is anyone out there that is willing to do this test. Game is already launched, a good game, and then trying to translate, getting the text file from someone, getting it and translating it now with machine translation, and see what we get. I think it would be a very good check.
Note on that, from a scientific perspective, that the content of that game might already be in the engine that you are using. So be careful, because sometimes you measure performance and success based on something which is not true. It's not the real performance, because if you were to localize a new game, which content is not in the engine, in the LLM or whatever, because who knows what's in ChatGPT, no one will ever know, you might be getting a false impression of the machine being very clever. And it's not always the case. So just that.
Okay, that's a good point. Never thought about it. So that
And I would also add, sorry, Pietro, to interrupt you, it's a very different experience to localize a game that is already finished, that you just extract the whole loc export and then nobody's going to touch it. Now, localize this game while the production is live, where there are tons of interaction, changes, it's a very different experience. It's very difficult to compare what happens in localization during production or
without
something
the
that
context.
So because I'm sorry, this is a very small break.
No.
I have been researching a lot about fan translation, and I have been following, fan translators, because there are many Spanish communities doing fan translation for games that have been out for a long time and were never localized into Spanish and so on. And of course, for them, it's a very different experience that they extract the content from a game that is already released, that they can play, that is not going to change, and now they translate it with all the context. They know everything that happens there. You cannot compare this process with what professional localization is, which is that you're getting the files in batches, there are iterations, there are changes, you don't have context, you don't play the game, it's a whole different experience. So this, on top of what Belen said, makes it really hard to compare.
So for the sake of this experiment, I should get the first a text file, in theory, that they had in original language, right? The first one, not the final one. I should get the original one that was given to the translation company and then get it translated in one of the languages. Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
But still, it won't be 100% reliable. But
of course, but I still
it's good to try.
It's
good to try. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm sure we're gonna see the difference, and then if you keep that in mind. Anyway, super long episode. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna cut pretty much anything. So, if you got to here, thank you very much. I love you deeply. Feel free. I owe you a coffee or something when next time you meet me at a conference. So, thanks to Diana, Díaz, Montón. Thanks to Belén, Agulló, Garcia. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to this, and subscribe, leave a comment, like, whatever. If not, it's okay. Then you owe me a coffee. Then thank you, girl. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Pietro.
Thank you, Pietro.
And goodbye to everyone. Bye. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.